Nature versus Nurture, in Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Introduction. In Cold Blood is a nonfiction novel written in 1966 by the American writer Truman Capote. It describes the horrible murder that happened in 1959 in Kansas when all four members of the Clutter family were killed in their own house. However, the motives of this crime remained unclear as almost nothing was stolen. Discussion. Capote started to write his novel during the investigation. He wrote about how two criminals who had committed this crime, Hickock and Perry Smith, were caught, convicted, and hanged. At the same time, investigating the reasons for killing the members of the Clutter family, Capote addresses an essential issue of criminals' tendencies and the origin of their violence. Thus, in Cold Blood, using the examples of Hickock and Perry Smith, the author shows that both nature and nurture may determine violence. Dick was raised in a loving family. However, his violence was in his genes. He simply loved to kill. On the contrary, Perry is a sensitive man who was neglected, abused, and misunderstood since his childhood. Moreover, regardless of a committed crime, these sources determine the different attitudes of criminals toward it. In Cold Blood, Hickock represents the position of nature and demonstrates that inherent characteristics and genes determine a person's criminal tendencies regardless of his environment. Described as an American-style good kid with a face distorted by a car collision, Hickock has the left eye being truly serpentine, with a venomous, sickly blue squint that, although it was involuntarily acquired, seemed nevertheless to warn of bitter sediment at the bottom of his nature. Using vivid descriptions with metaphors and comparisons, Capote aims to demonstrate the contrast between a man's conditions of life that formed the perception of him by other people and his genuine nature that probably became unleashed after an accident. At the same time, one of two sons raised in a loving family, Dick is described as a brilliant and smart student and an outstanding athlete, always on the first team at school. Although his family could not afford college, Hickock found a well-paid job with Santa Fe Railways and subsequently married. At the same time, while Dick's nature took over him and he destroyed his own family through cheating and was sent to prison for committing crimes, his family still protected him. During the proceeding, his father said, "That boy has plenty of good inside him. If you ever saw him on a football field, if you ever saw him play with his children, you wouldn't doubt me." Thus, by contrasting Dick's nurturing and love and affection and the conditions of his blissful childhood and adolescence with the details of a horrible crime committed by him and his attitude to it, the author demonstrates that the intention to kill derived from this person's genes or nature. In turn, Perry Smith is presented as a person whose criminal tendencies are determined by the conditions of his nurturing. Perry grew up in a highly dysfunctional family, and since his childhood, he had faced violence, abuse, misunderstanding, and neglect, moving between children's shelters, orphanages, and detention homes where he was brutally beaten by nuns, nurses, and mistresses. Perry addressed people as highly evil, describing his experience in one of the shelters and a nurse's actions in the following way. What she used to do, she'd fill a tub with ice-cold water, put me in it, and hold me under till I was blue. Nearly drowned. Describing his experience in detail, Perry showed that experiencing violence could become violence from his side as an only experience, as his parents did not explain to him what was good and what was bad. At the same time, the author clearly states that Perry's nature is different, as the man is described as sensitive, intelligent, and talented. However, society limits his ability to grow and develop. For instance, Perry's father did not allow him to go to school as he pursued his own egoistic interests to keep the boy as a servant. Perry wrote, "No education, because he didn't want me to learn anything, only how to tote and carry for him. Dumb. Ignorant. That's the way he wanted me to be." In these words, it becomes clear that Perry started to realize what people in his environment did, how they raised and treated him, and how they limited his opportunities. Having the ability to go to school and probably enter college, Perry had all the chances to avoid committing crimes. In turn, being neglected, abused, and misunderstood, he did not get the life he genuinely deserved. Thus, Capote demonstrates that even a highly talented, sensitive, and peaceful man may become a criminal if he is raised in violence. Conclusion. At the same time, regardless of crime commitment, the author shows that nature and nurture as sources determine different attitudes to illegal and immoral actions. Thus, Dick is guided by his desire to kill without paying attention to the family's property to rob. Before a crime, he already knew that there would be no witnesses and did not want to wear stockings on his face to hide his identity. He told Perry, "Ain't that what I promised you, honey, plenty of hair on those walls?" In these words, he stated that he wanted to be as violent as possible, and he indulged himself in killing. Moreover, after leaving the Clutter's family's house, he makes jokes and does not feel any remorse. Instead, he blames Perry for being too sensitive when he starts to doubt the righteousness of their actions. On the contrary, it is possible to say that Perry did not want to kill the Clutters. Being with Dick, he was here, and embarked on the present errand, not because he wished to be, but because fate had arranged the matter. In particular, Perry wanted his friend, his former cellmate Willie J., who would be released in Kansas. This circumstance proves that Perry was not interested in committing crimes. However, his subsequent violence in the house of the Clutter family may also be explained by his nurturing and the environment in which he was raised. Perry was beaten, abused, neglected, and ignored. His opportunities were limited by his family and society. However, he could achieve a lot and avoid criminal activities. In this case, his dissatisfaction with life and its injustice was growing, and he was finally released into the house of the Clatters. In other words, Perry did not have personal enmity toward them. Instead, it is possible to say that he killed his parents, nurses, nuns, and peers who mistreated him.